Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose. And we talk to a lot of people in the Wadsworth area for citizens to get a better understanding of what is happening in our fair city. A previous show, we talked to Daniel Chafin, the new police chief here in town, and he talked about how citizens can really help the investigators with the crimes and problems in Wadsworth. And he also said how difficult sometimes it is to recruit new officers. So if you have a minute, maybe check that show out. Today we're pleased to have Dr. Andy Hill, Superintendent of the Wadsworth City Schools. Andy, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Bruce.
Wondered if we could get a little bit of a thumbnail sketch about your educational background.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a brief background. I have a biology degree, chemistry minor from the University of Toledo. I actually spent a little bit of time in medical school at Wright State University in Dayton before I decided that it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I went back to the University of Toledo and ended up getting a master's degree, education through there, my teaching license, administrative license, and a doctorate degree from Seton Hall University in South Orange, New Jersey, in educational leadership, management, and policy.
What are some previous positions you've had in education?
Sure. So I started as a teacher at a small elementary school, Catholic elementary school in Central City, Toledo, called Rosary Cathedral. Taught 7th and 8th grade. Did a little bit of teaching at Toledo Central Catholic High School, and then was asked to become principal of Rosary Cathedral. So I did that for 3 years, and then was asked to become principal at St. Francis de Sales High School, an all-boys college prep high school in Toledo. Did that for 3 years, and then we started a family and decided we wanted to be back closer to home in Northeast Ohio. So I was hired as middle school principal in Crestwood, which is northern Portage County, the Hiram, Manaway, Shalersville area. And I was there for 3 years while I was doing that doctorate program in New Jersey. And then became superintendent of Waterloo local schools in southern Portage County, Atwater, Randolph townships, prior to becoming superintendent here in Wadsworth. And we relocated to Wadsworth when got that job, and I'm starting year 9. Hard to believe, but it's starting the 9th year here in Wadsworth.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have said maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Time flies. What attracted you to Wadsworth, and what have you gleaned in your 9 years in Wadsworth?
Yeah, so I think what attracted me here when the job was posted and started to learn more about it, one was the location. My wife's from Massillon. I grew up, and my family still lives in North Ridgeville on the west side of Cleveland. So Wadsworth, while not perfectly in the center, is kind of central for us to both of our families and not too far away from either. So that was attractive. But really, I think the thing that sold me on applying was as I started to look into it, started to ask around, started to talk to people, it was amazing to me what appeared to be the level of community support for the schools and how the schools were so involved in supporting the community. It's something that I had not experienced in previous places, and so that attracted me more than anything to apply. And I was fortunate to get the job. I'm grateful that the board placed their trust in me. We relocated here and moved right away when I got the job. And I think if anything, I tell people when they ask that question that what I thought I saw through that interview process and understanding things, you can't even begin to describe how much more it is than what it appeared to be. This level of support that our community gives to our schools and our schools in return give to the community is truly like nothing I've ever seen before. It still continues to amaze me, even though 9 years in. And and when I talk to people about that, I think, if you're a lifelong resident of Wadsworth, it probably is. It's what you know. It's the norm. And for somebody that's not a lifelong resident, I'll tell you that I don't think it is the norm. There's probably other places like this, but it's definitely not the norm, and it's something that we continue to be so fortunate and grateful for what we have.
In your various endeavors, have mentors been important to you? And let me put it this way, with Gabe Tudor leaving a district, might you be a leader for new superintendents, or specifically Gabe?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, absolutely. Mentors have definitely played an important role in my life, whether it's my parents, some of the priests in the schools that I worked in or grew up in, some other people. I was just telling our new teachers and new employees a couple days ago, when I became an administrator a couple years after getting into teaching and didn't really have a strong background in it other than an idea of what I wanted to do. The priest paired me with a gentleman, Paris Coleman, who was a retired Toledo Public School educator, and just his ability to listen, his ability to provide guidance, his stories, sense of humor, it was really so important to me at getting started, and things that I try, I guess, to do and pass along to others as well. So, somebody like Gabe, Gabe's beginning his career as a superintendent, and no matter how many years you've been doing a job like this, it's challenging. And no matter how many years you've been doing a job like this, there's always new things that you haven't seen before, and it's even more especially true, I guess, right now during COVID. And so, I'm happy, like others have done for me, to be somebody that Gabe can call and I can just listen and provide guidance if that's what he's looking for. And because I've been fortunate to have many people that have done that for me along the way, and people that continue to. We had a meeting last night, or not a meeting, but a gathering, and 4 other superintendents were over my house for a while, just as a way to connect, to kind of talk through, to problem solve what we're all experiencing right now. And those connections are really important, and if I'm able to provide that to somebody, I'm more than happy to do that.
What about some of the top responsibilities for a superintendent? If you could talk about 3 or 4 of the major duties, what do you think those would be?
Yeah, I think probably the most important is working with our team here to make sure that we bring the right employees into the district. Our district is able to do what we do because of the people that we have, and they do phenomenal things and for our kids and for our community. So probably one of the biggest charges that I'm responsible for is ultimately being the one that makes selections, working with our team, and recommends people to the board. And the summers especially, that gets pretty busy. I mean, we've got on the new employee side, I think we had over 30 people that were part of our orientation the last 2 days, and we still have all kinds of movement. Today, Steve Moore is filling like 20 of our non-certified positions with internal movement, and then that's going to lead to additional positions that open. I think communication is another one, whether that's internally for our staff and students, whether that's to our community at large, whether that's continuing to keep our Board of Education apprised of what's happening so that they're not caught off guard or surprised. Policy development would be another one that I work closely with our Board of Education and others on. And in relation to that, my job in some ways also is to make sure, I almost refer to myself kind of as a compliance officer per se, because the board is trusting that the policies, the laws, the other things that are in place, that our school district is following those. And so, as the person that's ultimately responsible for that, I have to make sure that we have processes in place so people know what those things are, and that we have checks and balances in place to make sure that we are following through and doing the right thing. Very similar to what Doug Beeman does within the Treasurer Office with all of the procedures and policies there as well. The board charges him with that responsibility.
The summer allows us to do some things we can't do during the regular year. What are some of the physical changes that the students, staff, support staff might look forward to seeing?
Yeah, so we take advantage of the summer. You know, many people may not really realize how busy it actually is in the school district over the summer. We, in addition to actually doing deep cleans in the building, waxing floors, a lot of that other stuff, which keeps our custodial and maintenance crews really busy. We also try to tackle different projects. So we have concrete work that gets done where we're repairing where there's areas that are damaged that we don't feel are safe. We have asphalt work that occurs. Some of that happened at Artwright Stadium as an example. A couple weeks ago we had where the bleachers come down on the home side, where the concrete meets the asphalt, it had sunk. So we redid that. We have some building projects happening this summer within buildings due to space needs and other things. So at our administration building, we were moving some of our preschool, the itinerant program for preschool, those teachers. So itinerant program are students that attend preschool elsewhere, but we are responsible for providing some level of special education services too, based on the student's disability. So we're moving the teachers that work in those programs that are our employees over to our building at the administration building because we've been space challenged. Our preschool program continues to expand with students with learning disabilities that we service. We've moved part of our preschool over to Isham. We've expanded our 4 cities compact office within the administration building. So a lot of different projects at the high school. Our school counselor or guidance area has expanded, and so there's some physical changes happening between where they're currently housed and the extended learning lab that's right next to them to kind of connect those and make a larger space for personnel and for students. So those are some of the things that people will see.
You put those all together and that's substantial.
Yeah.
It may be isolated in one building, but put all those improvements together, and as you say, you're trying to look for safety and security for our students and staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott Larch is our supervisor of facilities and grounds. He does a nice job kind of overseeing and keeping those things on target. And then Steve Moore, now in the assistant superintendent role, that's one of his main responsibilities are the facility and grounds. So he works closely with Scott, our maintenance, custodians, and others. And it's a ever-evolving process. But you know, we're fortunate in this county. We're able to do a lot of that work through these sales tax dollars. We also have money that has to be set aside by law for our new facilities, the 3 elementaries and the high school, that is used for those kind of purposes as well, for facility upkeep and improvements and stuff. So we have a couple different pots of money that we're able to potentially utilize to not have to touch our general operating fund if we choose to.
I think it's the only county in the state that has such a fund for all the schools within Medina County.
Absolutely, as far as I know, that's true, and it's a pretty amazing thing.
What about, you talked about collaboration, we touched on that a little while ago, but what about the county health department, other schools, and the city of Wadsworth? How is it significant to cooperate and coordinate things with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we have a lot of community partners that we work really closely with as a school district, with all of the different things that we do with students and our community. We have to have close partnerships. So the health department, Krista Wasowski, our county health commissioner, has been invaluable not only to Wadsworth City Schools, the other schools in the county, but I'm sure all of the governmental agencies as well, as we've tried to navigate through this uncertainty and ever-changing things with the pandemic since March of 2020. So, you know, what does that look like? We had been, and I think we're beginning again, where weekly Krista joins on a Zoom call with all of the superintendents in the county, gives us an update on where things are, allows us to ask questions, And then she's readily available when we need to reach out to her throughout the week. And her team at the health department has been great working with our teams in the buildings as we're doing things to assist them, like contact tracing and other stuff. We definitely could not have done what we did last school year without that support and guidance from our health department. The City of Wadsworth, we've had a long-standing relationship of trying to work closely with them long before I ever came. Matter of fact, the facility we're in is a perfect example of that great collaborative effort. But we've continued to do our best to keep that relationship strong with the administration. We meet monthly as a school district, central office group, a few of us, and the city administration. We're part of monthly communication meetings that also involve City, Main Street Wadsworth, the Chamber of Commerce, and some others. And the whole idea is really to just talk about what each of us are doing, to see where we can collaborate together, to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts. So, back to what I was talking about earlier with this community. Again, I'm sure it happens in other places, but there really is a lot of coordinated opportunities here and efforts to really work hand in hand with so many of these organizations. Salvation Army, we have space in our administration building that they continue to use for after-school programming and summer programming for kids, and the list goes on and on. And so that's a huge part of what we do, is to collaborate with these entities, our city, our township trustees as well. So,
Dr. Hill, how many new teachers did we hire this year? And could you make a general comment on their skills and abilities?
Absolutely. So we have about, I think it's around 30, which between administrators, teachers, I think we had one new one new non-certified employee. But I guess I would say, collectively, I think they bring a lot of great experiences to our schools. The majority of them have taught elsewhere, and they're bringing that background and other things with them to us. And we put our people through a pretty rigorous process to get hired here, and always have. And Dr. Fortner kind of revised the process and put something in place that we continue to pretty much use. We've made some tweaks here and there, but what he and his team created was a really good process. And so we believe when we make that offer and they start with us, we feel like we got the best of the best. And so we're excited. We're excited to have the group that we do. And we're still trying to, I was just on the phone before I came over here today, offering a couple jobs to a few different people, because we still have a couple teaching jobs to wrap up based off of some last minute changes. And
what was their reaction?
Well, excitement. It's excitement. So they're always, for the most part, excited to get the opportunity to come here, and we definitely have the excitement to get them here and to become part of this team.
There are some changes in the administrative staff, and when we have new people coming in, conversely, we have people leaving or retiring. Would you make some comments about my old colleague and friend Roger Havens and what he meant for the district?
Yeah, sure, I absolutely can. Before I say that though, we are so fortunate to have good stability in our administrative staff. I mean, it's a blessing to have that. It's also in some ways a curse, because we have all of these great people who aspire to be administrators in our teaching ranks that usually then end up having to leave us to go elsewhere to become an administrator. So when I look at who's leaving, start with Roger, just an amazing guy. I don't know that I've ever met anybody like Roger. I don't know if I ever will again.
I think they broke the mold.
They did, but he's just, I was sad to see him go. The stories that I think probably the biggest tribute I can say about Roger is I've heard from like 3 generations stories about what he meant to them as they go through school, and how excited they are that their kids or grandkids or whatever were able to have him as their principal, and then to listen to the stories. And I think that's what Roger, I mean, he does so many things well, but if I had to pick one of them, he creates opportunities for kids to make memories. And even outside of that, within our community, he does the same thing for grown adults with all of the other stuff that he's involved in with the Historical Society and other things. His ghost walks, I mean, he creates those opportunities, and that's an important thing to him. And that's a really important thing to so many people in this community, and that's what people remember, you know, and so we miss him. But, you know, Nance Watts left us. She retired after 15 years at Isham. You know, you mentioned Gabe. Gabe moved on. But, you know, so Steve Moore has moved from high school principal into the assistant role. He's doing a phenomenal job. You've had Vincent Suber on here, who's stepping into the role of high school principal. He's off to a great start. Sanana Kelly is our new principal at Franklin. Sanana's one of those that I talked about earlier. She was a teacher here, wanted to get into administration, left us for a while to go to Revere, and now we're able to return her, and thrilled to have her back here.
She's going to be on the show Tuesday.
Great, but you'll really enjoy talking to her.
Laura Maslick.
Laura Maslick has been an assistant at Central Intermediate School for us for 8 years. Now she's at Lincoln Elementary. We moved Steve Brady after 13 years at Lincoln to Isham as principal. And then Krista Halicki is moving, or has moved, from teacher with us at the middle school to the assistant at the intermediate school. And last, I want to mention Jessie Widmer is our new transportation supervisor. And she started in June, and she's hit the ground running. She's got great ideas, and she's doing a phenomenal job as well. So, you know, from a standpoint of kind of reinvigorating people, getting new ideas, it's been great to have that. From the standpoint of respecting and missing the people that are gone, we definitely do, but so happy for them that they have the opportunity to either, like Nance and Roger, move into retirement and enjoy whatever they want to do, or somebody like Gabe that's moved on and has the opportunity to be in charge of a school district, and, you know, we're proud of them.
Andy, the CIS facility was quite a detailed and long situation for development of a plan. Who was involved in that plan, and what is the plan for a November election?
Sure, that's a great question. So we started with a committee in 2016. In November of 2016, I think, was the first meeting. We made it an open community invitation. I think we probably had somewhere around 40-some people on that committee, and it ranged from people who are new to town with young kids to people that had gone through our schools, lived here their whole lifetime, and had grandkids that are in the schools now or graduated from the schools. And that committee worked through a process and ultimately made a recommendation in November of 17 to our Board of Education to build a new facility on a different location than the current one, and sell the current facility to someone that would use it for community use, at minimum O.J. Work Auditorium. I think it was April then of 2018, the board verbally approved or accepted that recommendation at their meeting. And then we hit some snags in the road with some stuff with the Ohio Facility Construction Commission and funding and our segmented project and other things. And our board made a decision in January of 2020 to just move forward with the project, understanding that we probably would not be able to leverage state support through the previous segmented project. And then they approved in January of this year, working with the architect Halliburton Root and BSHM to develop what the new facility could look like. And so where we're at right now, so it's been a long time coming. It was part of our last strategic plan. The goal has always been to have a facility in place, if the community supports it, by the fall of 2025. And that was figured out when they did the renovations around 2000. My understanding, I wasn't here, but my understanding is that those renovations were communicated to last approximately 25 years. And we've had facility studies and other things done along the way as part of the committee work to see. And so we are now going to be on the ballot here in November 2nd, for a combination bond and operating levy issue. And the bond portion of it for a new central intermediate school is 2.4 mils. The operating side, we haven't had new operating money request in 10 years now. The last one we thought would last 3 years, I'm told, and we've stretched it out to go 10. The operating side will be 6.7 mils, so it'll be a total ask of 9.1 mils. But we have 3.2 mils coming off in January from tax collections because the bond issues from the middle school, Franklin and Lincoln Elementary School will sunset. So it's a total new net millage of 5.9. And if the community supports that, we have property over here that the board has purchased on Broad Street, right on the same campus as the middle and high school where the new facility would go.
Certainly, I was surprised it was that long a process.
Yeah.
Did you think it would really evolve that long a span?
No, you know, I guess what I thought was I was surprised myself how quickly the CIS committee came to a decision. What we didn't anticipate was all this stuff with the state of Ohio. And we really lost a lot of time in our process there, working through those issues. Also didn't anticipate there being a global pandemic, which also slowed things down a little bit. So we're still, I guess, when we look at the long term of what we were shooting for time-wise, we're still on target. But I would agree with you that it has taken a long time to get where we are. And, you know, but we feel good about where we're at, and hopefully our community will feel good about that as well.
Andy, we're out of time, but you do have on the website suggestions for parents to bring students to school during the COVID crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. So July 16th, we released a return to school plan. It's, like you mentioned, it's right on our district website. If you go to the home page, it's across the top on the right. I think it's 21, 22 back to school information, and you click that, and it's our plan. And so we continue to monitor local data with COVID. We continue to have conversations with our local health department, like I mentioned earlier. And if we change anything in relation to that plan, we will make sure our community knows right away. But our plan is different than what it looked like last year. And you know, part of that reason is last year we had 20% of our kids in an online environment by choice. And this year we're probably somewhere around a total of 40 students that have opted to be online. So, you know, that creates some different challenges for us in the building with spacing and other things with all the kids being back. But and I know there's mixed feelings from community on where our plan currently stands, but I can assure people we're working closely with the health department. We're monitoring things, and our Board of Education's not afraid to have further discussions if things present themselves that require that.
Andy Hill, thank you for your time and information for the public. I'm sure they're going to get some good details, and school's right around the corner. I bet you can't wait.
Yeah, we're excited. This is an exciting time every year. It's a really busy time, but it's exciting. And you know, I think when you ask about my job, I mentioned the communication with the community, but I think it's really important for people in our community to know that we want to operate in a way that's transparent for you. And we do our best to put out and make all types of information available. If there's something that a community member would ever like to see or information that they would like to request, please ask. There's certain things we're not allowed to release by law with privacy and other stuff, but most of the things that we do in this school district are public records. And we want to make sure that whether we're talking the levy request that's coming up or any other item, you know, my job is to make sure that people have information to be able to make an informed decision, whatever that decision is. And I take that job seriously, and we just want people to know that if they have questions or need information, they can contact me at any time. It's ahill@wadsworthschools.org or 330-335-1300 is my direct line.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Next week we'll have Sunana Kelly, and she is the new principal of Franklin Elementary. Thanks for viewing.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.